Hey everybody, it's Captain Kyle, and I went to Botcon 2025, though they're calling it Botcon 25, in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and this is my haul and report. So I'm going to tell you about my experiences at the con, which was a lot of fun. From what I understand, I didn't go last year, but it is bigger this year than last year, I was told, and I got a few things, and I want to go through them with you and tell you about the con. So if you're new to the channel, again, I'm Captain Kyle. Welcome aboard if you've been watching for a while. Thanks so much for coming back. That is totally awesome. And I just want to remind everyone that I do have memberships now. So if you want to support the channel, you can become a toy hunter. And we have members only live streams and you get some badges and it's a lot of fun. But let's get into talking about Botcon. But first, let's do an intro. Be right back. So I did pick up a couple of the Botcon exclusives. There is the YOLO part Cliff Jumper, so I picked that up. Now, these are a little bit simpler to put together than the blockies, and to be honest, the blockies, I have a little more fun with those, but these are cool figures. This one is the Science set. It's got Glyph and Sound Blaster. Now, there was one other set, which I didn't get. I think it had like Sunstorm and somebody else, but I just got these two. Now, to tell you a little bit about the con, I went there and it ran from, I think, June 12th through the 15th. So Friday the 13th was in there, but it was Thursday through Sunday. Now, Thursday, not a lot happening. I think there might have been some classes and stuff like that, but I wasn't involved in those. I showed up on Thursday, got my badge, and ended up hanging out in the lobby with a bunch of extra Transformers, and I did some sales, which worked out well for me because, you know, I was able to afford more Transformers and met a lot of great people. I was there with my friend Tim, who is also a big Transformers fan, and he helped out with the sales. He helped out with recording panels, which I was there to do as well. And you may have noticed we already put up the Transformers 1 panel, but there are more panels coming. And unbeknownst to me, when I showed up, I was scheduled to be on a YouTuber panel, which that will be posted, but I was not aware that I was gonna be a moderator, and I ended up moderating a bunch of panels, which is fine. I love moderating. It's just, I was told that they were covered for moderators and, you know, they'd keep me in mind for backup. Okay, well, apparently when I got there, I was told, hey, we got to talk about the moderation schedule. I was like, okay, well, and so I ended up moderating. Well, first there was the Metal Cardbot panel, which was very cool. It's a Korean line of toys, and it's also a show that is kind of like Transformers. They have transforming robots, and they're from the planet Mechina and all that stuff. I'll be putting up the panel. I can't put up their episode, but they did show it during the panel, so there'll be like, you know, a jump, but there'll also be a link to that episode, so you can check it out. But yeah, Metal Cardbots, very cool transforming robots, and it looks like a fun series. The gimmick is each of them has kind of like a card, but it's a card that's attached to accessories that you can pop up, and it kind of powers up the robot. So one of them has like roller skates, others have like extra weapons, stuff like that. It's really cool. So look for that panel. And then I did the Dan Gilvezan panel and Michael Bell panel, the G1 voice actors, and they brought Flint Dilley along, who's one of the G1 writers. He had his own panel later on, which I did not moderate, with Michael Johnson, I want to say, who was another one of the writers. I should look that up. I'm sorry, it was Michael C. Hill. My bad, not Michael Hall, who Michael C. Hall, which I would have been a little scared were I a killer. But Michael C. Hill and Flint Dilley, they also had their own panel. And we've already put up, which I did not moderate, the Transformers one, which had Josh Cooley, the director, and also the voice of Skywarp, and Ginny Chung, and John Bailey. So there was a lot of great panels there. There was a cosplayer panel, which I'll put up. There was a script reading, which I can't put up, but, you know, it was fun to see the voice actors doing stuff. But yeah, so I was not expecting to moderate panels, but I was happy to do so and do my Transformers impressions. Yeah, Megatron, leader of the Decepticons. And, you know, every time I look into a monitor prime, all that stuff, and people seem to enjoy it. So, but yeah, so I have these exclusive from YOLO Part, and yeah. So I went there looking for a couple things. There were two specific things I wanted. One is for an evolution video that's hopefully coming soon. I have the toy I was looking for, but I don't know where it is. So I was gonna buy another one, try to find it at a reasonable price. There was an eBay seller who had it at a reasonable price, and they did not send it. So I ended up getting a refund. I was very upset. Everyone else has it for ridiculous prices. But there was another one I was looking for, Rook, who is the Protectobot that I didn't get. So I found him and picked him up. He wasn't the cheapest, but I did manage to get a little bit of a discount on him. And he is going to be featured in my Infernatron video. Basically, I wanted to take Inferno from Power of the Primes and merge them together with other robots. And I'm using Wreck-Gar, I'm using Jazz, I'm using Ricochet, and I didn't have a fourth one. They didn't have a fourth one that would actually work that I owned. And I'm like, I'll use Rook. I thought I had Rook, but I didn't have Rook. So I picked up a Rook. So now I can do that video. So if you've been waiting for that, that's coming. But there were room parties, which is very cool. I picked up, at a room party, a replacement for my Optimus Prime GoBot. I have one, but the gun broke off in his hand. So I got this one. I think it was like $35, something like that. Some guy had it on the floor for a lot more, and I wasn't going to get it for that price. But when I was at the room party and I saw it, I'm like, yeah, I'll get that. So that was a nice thing. I also found, they gave me a bunch of cards when I went and bought the Sound Blaster and Glyph and Cliff Jumper. So, but I was looking around and I found something I did not expect to find, which was a Quick Slinger, who's also known as Slingshocks. So I have the KO set of aerial bots, but it comes with Alpha Bravo, or an Alpha Bravo, lookalike. So now I have the actual aerial bot Quick Slinger, aka Slingshot. And yeah, it was for a decent price. And I even, because I have a tendency to haggle a little bit, not too much, I don't want to be a total prick, but I will usually say, can you do a little better? And I got a little better of a price on Quick Slinger. So very happy to add that to my collection. Yeah, I ran into a lot of people there who recognized me from the channel, which was awesome. So thanks all of you if you're watching, for coming up and your kind words, because, that's what I live for. Not the attention. I mean, attention is nice, but, when people say, I watch your videos and it helped me decide to get this, or, I really liked Tommy Park, because you introduced me to that store, or, you've helped me with third party. So that is what I'm trying to help other collectors. So hearing words like that, it touches me, not in a pervy way, just touches me. I found a couple Transformers animated activators that I didn't have. I got Dirge, so I was happy to get that, and the Fire Blast Grimlock. So I also saw one that I almost bought, which is the Override, but he's like, I think he's from a repaint of Ransack or something from Cybertron, and I didn't get that. So this guy had, I already have a Nemesis. You've seen it probably because I reviewed it. But Nemesis, the Titan, goes for a lot of money. This one guy had a stack of them for like $220 a piece, and I think he sold them all. And my friend Tim picked up one because he had sold his, so that was a price he could not resist. And so I resisted because I already had one, but I did get this was $10 plus tax. He basically charged me $11 for this, and it is the Loyal Subjects Giant Shockwave. And I'm like, for the price? Hell yeah. So if you go to cons, you can get some incredible deals. They had Titan class Metroplexes from, Cybertron, but the Legacy new one. And those were pretty reasonably priced. He had a lot of stuff. Plus there was a lot of great vendors there with all kinds of stuff, which I'm going to show you more of because yeah, I spent a bit of money, but I didn't buy too much. I only got a few items left. But more about the con. They did have Saturday night. Josh Cooley did a special panel, which I could not record because he was doing a presentation that had some stuff that's not to be disseminated. He basically made everyone there agree to an NDA. I did not attend because I was hungry. And later on, John Bailey did a similar one, which could not be recorded. But the next day he did his and I moderated that. And that one will be coming soon. I almost got a Omega Supreme that was for pretty cheap. And another vendor bought it right in front of me. He saw it first, so it was fair. But he had pieces that I needed because I have I'm pretty sure just about all the pieces that I need for an Omega Supreme, except I didn't have the tank, and I'm pretty sure I don't have this piece. So I have the tracks, not tracks, the stunning auto mode Corvette that flies, but yeah, tracks and all the pieces, and clips. So I'm pretty sure I can put together an Omega Supreme. I'll probably show that in a members only video. So once I see if I have all the pieces. So I managed to get that. I saw this, it was $5, and it's a version of Optimus Prime with some kind of power armor. It looks like it's from the Robots in Disguise one, and you can scan his Autobot symbol. I've never seen it. Of course, I wasn't collecting at the time. I'm not sure if he's US or Japanese or what, but I thought it was a neat Optimus Prime. It was $5. I didn't haggle. I mean, come on, for $5, this was worth it. So I got him. They were passing out for free. You could get old Botcon comic books. This is from Game of Deception. I probably have this comic book somewhere, but I grabbed one anyway, and I read it when I was there, sitting at a table, and there were like cosplayers around me. There were some pretty cool cosplayers. Some of them were human form versions of Transformers, so they weren't entirely robotic, and some were more robotic, but free comic book, so couldn't beat that. Only 2 more items to go. I won't bore you with all the stuff, but I don't know where they're going to do it next year. I will probably be there next year. TFCon is also a very good con. I'm not dissing that at all. I've been to TFCons. I've had fun at TFCons. I've met lots of great people at TFCons, but Botcon has a little bit of a special place in my heart because I went there from the year 2000 to the year 2011. Well, a couple of them might have been OTFCC official Transformers collectors conventions, which still had some good toys, but you know, didn't involve the Hartmans, and the original Botcon crew being back is great. I did trade something that I had bought for sale for this Metallurgist Slick, which is actually a version of Swerve, and I thought it was pretty cool. They looked at it and were like, nah, this is not my ideal for a Swerve, but I like it. I'll probably review it at some point. Not that I don't have a bunch of other stuff to review, but so that. And then the final item I got, probably the most money I spent on a set, was these guys. Now, I even forget their names and I can't read them in Japanese on the back, but they're basically repaints of Skids and Crosscut. I think they're eHobby exclusives, in fact. And I don't really want to tell you what I paid for them, but I can tell you. These guys, they were asking $195 for them. And I did ask if they could do a little better, and they did. So I got it for like $180. And this might bite me in the ass. This is the limited Skids and Screech Quantum Operative version. Yeah, Skids and Screech. So I guess the green one is just an alternate coloration of Skids, and then Screech is the orange one. Kind of looks a little bit like Mudflap and Skids from Revenge of the Fallen, but we don't talk about them. Yeah, so this might bite me in the ass, but when you go to a con, there's nothing wrong with when you take an item and go to the vendor saying, can you do a little better? Worst thing they can say is no, and then you have to make a decision. But they might give you a couple bucks off, and that's more money you can spend on other Transformers or for food if, you haven't budgeted quite well enough. So I got a bunch of stuff there. It was a lot of fun. Friday, there were some panels. They did a movie showing of Transformers 1. They had just a lot of great people walking around, had great conversations with great fans from all over the place. And that's really what these conventions are really good for, because you might be able to find a lot of these toys, maybe not the Botcon exclusives, local toy shops or on eBay or, going to a local toy show. But when you get to Botcon, it's a whole different thing. Botcon and TFCon and RetroCon to some extent, but that's a little bit more 80s. But when you go to a con where the people around you love the same things that you do, that is one of the most awesome things ever. And yeah, you can have great conversations with, all kinds of people. You'll meet cosplayers, I'm going to put that in a close-up cam again. You can just have a great time with all kinds of people, and I highly recommend it. If you haven't been to one, try to get out to one. TFCon bops around. I don't know where the next Botcon's going to be, but if it's close enough, or if you want something a little bit more, if you're not only into Transformers, but G.I. Joe and Thundercats and all things like 70s, 80s, 90s, RetroCon is a great con to go to. This year they have like Bruce Boxleitner from Tron. They have Rob Paulson and Maurice LaMarche, who were in Transformers. Rob Paulson was actually this guy. So, it kind of works out that I got his toy. So I have the G1. And yeah, they have the guys from Chip. If you're a little older, you're into that kind of stuff, great. Even if you're a newer fan, they have vendors like 315+ plus tables of vendors all over the place. I definitely recommend RetroCon because they have more toy vendors than either TFCon or Botcon, but TFCon and Botcon, you're gonna run into people who are pretty much Transformers fans only. At RetroCon, you might run into people who are into other things, which might also be cool, and you might be into them too. But anyways, yeah, I got a lot of interesting stuff, and you can definitely get some good deals at these cons. And I think what else? I ended up chatting with Aaron Archer, who was main Hasbro designer. After the con, we just encountered him on the street. That was cool. Chatted a bit with Ginny from Transformers 1. She was cool. Flint Dilly and I talked about Transformer stories that I'd love to see happen in the D1 era, and he actually got pretty excited about it. Of course, it was always great to see voice actors like Dan Gilvezan and Michael Bell, who I've moderated before. That's one of the reasons I picked their panel, and just had great conversations with them. And Michael Bell is hilarious. Dan can be pretty funny too, but Michael Bell just has this dry wit and these stories. When you see his panel, he'll talk about how someone wanted him to reprise his role as Duke and a little prank he played. So if you've heard the story, it's funny. If you haven't, then I'm not gonna say anymore. That's pretty much it. BotCon was a success. I saw someone who I hadn't seen in more than like 24 years ago. I think she was 15 at the time. Would come to, I used to have a store. She'd come into the store with her father. They'd buy Transformers. I kind of helped feed her addiction. That's the way she put it. And yeah, ran into her. Haven't seen her in like 24 years. And it was great just to see this person that I had something of an effect on in the Transformers world. So anyways, again, thanks for everyone who was there and said hi. And there were some people who didn't know about my channel and they ended up finding out and subscribing, and I thank those people too. They just really liked my bad jokes during the moderating and between the panels, because sometimes I was the show before the show, Sorry, DJ Elliott. But yeah, that is my haul and report. So if you're enjoying stuff like my reviews and my hauls and reports and, special videos that I do, by all means, feel free to subscribe. Hope to see you in a members only chat. That would be also very cool. Members only chat is kind of like a members only jacket. And while you are mulling over these cons and deciding whether or not you want to go to one, you can actually check out this video over here, which is the last TFCon I went to, which was in Baltimore. And that's the report on that. And you can hear me blather on about that if you're into that. And we'll see you next time. As always, have fun and good hunting.